me ducks, welcome to the Hermit's Cave. It's lovely to see so many people here joining us today. So hello to everybody who's here and waiting for today's interview. So this has been a long time coming. Jonathan and I have been talking about doing an interview for, best part of 6 months. And then we finally had it arranged for just before Christmas, but it had to be postponed. So without further ado, we're going to go over to Maui in Hawaii and say aloha to our friend Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan.
Aloha, everybody.
And it's really early where you are, isn't it?
Yeah, it's before the dawn.
Do you want to tell everybody what time it is where you are?
It is 6 a.m. currently.
6 a.m. That's commitment to get up and come on at this time. But I really appreciate you. As I said, just in the intro, being flexible and postponing at a moment's notice, but also getting up at the crack of dawn to be here and to be interviewed. So thank you and welcome to the Hermit's Cave finally.
Finally. Wow, this is amazing. I can't believe I'm here.
I know, as I say, it's taken a while, but it's great to have you. And I don't know if you've got the chat open or if you can see people's comments or whether you prefer kind of just to focus on the interview, but there's lots of people in here saying aloha to you.
I do have the comments open. I'm seeing some of them. Oh, there's Betsy. She's my neighbor.
Yes, she is. So you live in Hawaii, but you didn't. From what I remember, you didn't grow up there. Is that
no?
So where did you grow up, first of all? What was life like in your early formative years?
So I was born in 1975. And since the Vietnam War was raging, one of my uncles was a vet in it. Well, he wasn't a vet at the time, but he was trapped in it. My parents decided that they wanted to have me be born in Mexico, so that when I was 18, if there was a draft, I could run away. So I was actually born in Mexico. And it turns out my mom didn't even know she was in labor. She was busy painting the kitchen that day, I think. Wow. And while having contractions and not knowing what was going on, she's like, oh, there's those cramps again. So I ended up being born in the house because she did not want to get in the truck and drive for, I don't even know how long it was to get to the hospital. So luckily there was a female doctor on sabbatical just a couple doors down. And so I was born in the little house's bed, and turns out the house was built to the side of a hill that was actually a pyramid. So that's pretty cool. Wow. And then when I was about 6 months old, I think I was, we moved to California. And so my formative years are mostly in California. And then when I was about, I want to say 5, my mom and I started going down to Costa Rica a lot. So it was Costa Rica, winter breaks, summer breaks. And then for a few years, it was 6 months in each place. And then we did 1 full year in Costa Rica. But by that point, my mom and I were both getting a little schizophrenic with all the changes. It's like you'd be in one place and want to do stuff that was in the other place. And it was just like, you never were quite comfortable. So we stopped doing that quite as much and went back to just winter and summer breaks in Costa Rica. And it's actually one of the reasons I fell in love with Maui, because it's that perfect blend of California and Costa Rica. Almost the same plants as Costa Rica, without the thorns or the poisonous snakes. Yeah. So it just felt like home as soon as I got here. And I've been on Maui for over 10 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what took you to Maui? Was it work? Was it a relationship, or just wanted to
So my husband and I got married in California. I got my acupuncture license in Oregon. We went up to Oregon because California has its own licensing board, whereas the rest of the country all does the national boards. And so it was like I was struggling to pass that California board, but the way it's set up, I have bad test anxiety. and they only offer it once every 6 months. You end up, God, I think there was like 8 checkpoints to even get into the room, and like you can't wear certain kinds of clothing. And if you're a woman and it's the time of the month, they'll provide you with products just in case you put your answers in the tampon or something. I don't know. It was weird. I mean, there's even people watching you go to the bathroom. I mean, that was how strict they were about that test. And like, I have bad test anxiety. That did nothing to help. So after a year and a half of trying to pass that test and realizing there was 49 other states I could be practicing in, we moved up to Oregon. And then winter hit, and we're like, oh God, winter. We're California boys. We can't handle winter. And then we're thinking about where to move, and we couldn't really move back to California. And then Frank, my husband, was like, well, what about Hawaii? And I was like, I didn't even think about it. So he brought me out to Maui, and that trip was magical. It totally convinced me to come out here. I mean, literally, we got off the airplane, got a rental car, drove over to the west side here, which was like hour-long drive. And we got to our hotel, put our stuff down. We're like, oh, we have just enough time for sunset. So we run down to the beach. And just as we step onto the beach, like not too far off the shore, there was a mama whale and a baby whale breaching in opposite directions. And I just turned to Frank and went, yeah, I think I could live here.
Yeah. that kind of defining moment where you're like, well, if I wanted any signs or omens, right there, that's it. Yeah. So in that moment, you knew that was where you was going to live.
Oh, yeah. And that trip just kept solidifying that. I mean, there were so many magical moments. It's hard to even describe them all. But one thing we did, there's this thing called the Road to Hana, and it's like, it's ridiculous. It takes all day. I think we were driving for 13 hours that day just to do it. But we're coming back, and we're like heading over the hill into where our hotel is. And what do we see but a giant moon bow? It's like a rainbow, but with all silver colors. And it was like, wow. Okay, I can do it. I can live there.
And one of my favorite videos of yours that I remember seeing was when you went on a kind of a walk with me, and you went, was it a volcanic rock or just a kind of a natural hill? But it was really high, and you was walking, and it was windy, and there was like sheer drops either side.
Oh yeah, the Waihi Ridge hike. That one is amazing. Yeah,
that's incredible. And I love to see, when you get to see tarot tubers, and it's great to see deck unboxings and walkthroughs, but I really when we get to see a little bit about their lives as well. That's why I love home tours or sacred spaces and altar tours, or just like what you did. This is where I live. This is my part of the world. And it was just really interesting to be there. I think you even set it as a premiere so we could talk to you while it was happening. He was kind of giving us a guided tour through the chat as well. But yeah, more of them, Jonathan. I want to see more about you.
Yeah, I haven't done very many hikes lately. Well, I mean, there was the surge of new cases happening, and that kind of made me want to just stay at home.
It's difficult right now, isn't it? Yeah.
What I should do is bring you guys to the beach with me for a sunset.
Yes. Maybe we'll see some whales and moon bows and everything as well.
It is that time of year.
Yeah. So what is the community like where you are? So you said that you practice acupuncture, but what's the community like in terms of the kind of new age metaphysical kind of shops and things like that? Is it quite thriving where you are, or not?
There was a metaphysical shop for a little while, but I think it just turned into like this weekend fair instead. And I've been to a couple. Betsy's been to one, but I don't know. It's kind of cliquey in a weird way. Like if they don't know you, you get the cold shoulder. But there's a lot of practitioners here. Like there's a ton of tarot readers, there's a ton of acupuncturists, there's a ton of massage therapists, there's like, it runs the gambit. And Maui is, Betsy just says, Maui is character island, kind of like the island of misfit toys. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people come to Maui specifically to heal. The magic of the land is just really strong. People can feel it. Even the people who are not really into magic or anything are like, oh, this place is so magical. And it's true. I mean, people come here specifically for healing, but it also makes it so that it's a very transitory population. So I can't tell you how many going away parties I've been to in the last 10 years. I've lost count. And it seems like every couple of years you're losing one group of friends and making a new group of friends. So that does make it a little hard. I mean, there's certain people that have been around since the beginning. But for the most part, it's transitory. Like almost everyone I met when we first moved here has either moved away or, yeah, I think most of them moved away or moved to a different island. I'm moving to a different island. It might as well be in another state because, I mean, it's easy to get to different islands. It's just like a 30-minute flight, but still you have to get an airline ticket, get a hotel, and so it's not as easy as just like traveling around in, say, California. You just got like a camper and you can just go wherever.
Yeah. So somebody like myself who doesn't know that much about geography, particularly of that area, so Hawaii is an island, and then there are other islands around it which are also part of the state of Hawaii. Is that correct? Is that
yes, that's correct. It's an archipelago, and it's a shield volcano. So like you can actually go back in time if you go east of us. So Hawaii, the big island, is the newest island. It's still forming. It's still got lava flows, right? Yeah, Frank and I did a spelunking trip on the big island once, and I was like, because I had done lava tube spelunking before on the mainland, I was like, oh, you better bundle up. It's going to be so cold down there. I didn't think about the fact that, oh, wait, there's still lava flowing down there. It was a sauna, and I had a hoodie on and everything. I was just like, oh, this was a mistake.
Wow. So how far are you from the main island of Hawaii?
It's like a half-hour flight. Most boats wouldn't be able to make it because the channel between the big island and the rest of the islands is massive, and the riptides are crazy. There's 8 main islands. Hawaii Island is the biggest. Maui's the second biggest. And then the third biggest, Oahu, is actually where the capital of the state is, where a majority of the people live. So there's about, I think, like 1.5 million people on Oahu.
Wow.
And that's where Waikiki is, right?
I know of Waikiki because a friend of mine who I used to work with years ago got married on Waikiki Beach. Had her dream wedding. Okay, so just as we start then, have you got a cuppa? With it being as it's 6 a.m. for you, have you got
I just finished brewing. I haven't poured my first cup yet. I have my water bottle that I live with. Like it's attached to my hip at all times. But if you give me one moment, I'll go grab some coffee.
Yeah, I'll just ask everybody in the chat what if they've got a cuppa before we begin.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Everybody here, no worries. So just looking at some of the comments. So, we've got internet problems. Is that just for you, Ness, or is it with streaming? Can everybody else see us okay? I've seen Ness saying that internet's being a bit of a pain right now. And Betsy said the newest island of Loihi, is that how you say that, is forming off the southern tip of Big Isle. Wow, it's fascinating hearing about. Deanne, I'm just I won't read that out. Cool. Oh, Brant's here. Hello, Brant. Good to see you. I'm drinking Starbucks. Verona with caramel almond milk creamer. That sounds lovely, Deanne. I'm drinking Starbucks, but I've got chai tea. I really like their chai tea. So it does sound yummy. My caps lock button is acting up and to illustrate you finish the sentence in caps. And hi, Jen. And everybody else for coming in. Jonathan's just grabbing his first cuppa of the day. Sandra has Starbucks toffee nut latte.
That's better.
Watch it now. Cool. So, for anybody who might be here, Jonathan, who's not come across your channel yet, just tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, and what led you to starting a YouTube channel.
Well, I've been like obsessed with the tarot since I was 13, and I'm 45, so it's been a while. And I mean, I've had years where I didn't really pick up my decks at all, and then other years where like I couldn't put them down. And really, I think the reason I started my channel was watching you was a big inspiration. And then also, you know, just the pandemic happening and being stuck at home with my son and not knowing what to do with myself. And I just, you know, I had to put my career on hold because, you know, now I'm stuck at home, homeschooling basically. I mean, it's distance learning. He does have a teacher, but it's like I got to keep him on task as far as like logging on time and doing his work on time. But then there's these moments where I have a ton of free time. So I started doing unboxing videos just to start. And then my courage got raised a little bit by that. And I think I did like 25 videos without my face in it, just unboxings. And then I finally flipped the camera around and did a few unboxings like this. And then I started doing lives. My first live was actually with our hen, our Aussie Jen. And that just, I don't know, I just really appreciated the chat and being able just to like talk with like-minded people. And so I started my own Tuesday lives, which is at this time, 6 to 7 a.m. And I just, you know, I pull out my newest deck and I just give readings because it's a way for me to like really get to know the deck, really flex the deck, and also show off the deck for people who are interested. I mean, last Tuesday I did readings with the Marchetti Tarot, and I think Jamie Kelly ordered before I even finished my live. So, I mean, there's that hashtag Simon made me do it, but apparently now there's Jonathan made me do it too.
I think most people with a channel showing tarot decks make somebody do it.
Right. Just trying to share your love.
Yeah. I was like, well, who makes me do it? If Simon makes everybody do it, who's making me do it? You know, it's all of you. We all enable each other, don't we? So
I know, right? And it's the Hermit's Cave group on Facebook where it's like someone's like, "Yes, have you seen this new Kickstarter? Quick, go back it."
No, it can be a slippery slope. It really can. And it's really strange because every time I go to do an interview and ask the questions, I always look at people's channel and their history. And my jaw dropped today because it said your first video was 8 months ago. And you just seem like somebody who's been here forever. And I can't work. At first I was like, well, did he take a lot of videos down of his early stuff, but you hadn't? And then I looked at your first one, which you said was hands down looking at a deck. And I was like, how is this even possible that Jonathan's only been making content for 8 months? So you in the community, like a lot of us were, firstly kind of interacting and chatting before you took that first step of, you know, making a video.
Right. Yeah. I had actually been watching your unboxings for probably about a year and a half. Just because, even though I wasn't part of the community yet, I was, because I was buying decks. And if there was a deck that like interested me and I wanted to like see the best walkthrough, I'd always come to the Hermit's Cave, right? So I'd been, I don't think I'd been to many lives though before a year ago, probably. I don't think so. I think I was just watching the pre-recorded unboxings, and then I found the lives when he started doing Corn Stream the first time, and that just inspired me, So,
well, thank you, and that's really nice of you to say. And yeah, it like I say, you're just somebody I think that is so well known now within our corner of YouTube that you're just one of those people that everybody seems to know, and it was just such a shock to see that the content had only been coming for 8 months, and it was nice. Yeah, it was nice when you did flip the camera around. I particularly like the ones where you were sat outside and all the noises of the peacocks and things in the background. It was great. So when did you first become interested in tarot or even just divination? When did that start for you? At what point in your life?
Probably 12, 13, like I said. My first deck was the one JJ Swiss, and it was a gift from my aunt who had gotten it for herself in Switzerland, not Switzerland, where was she? The Scandinavian country, but I can't remember. Anyway, she had bought it for herself and eventually gifted it to me, and I just didn't know where, like, I don't know. For me, it was very confusing because it was a pip deck. The little pamphlet that came with the deck only talked about the majors, said nothing about the minors, and I just kind of was like, well, if that's true, I don't know if that's for me. But then that summer, the summer camp I went to in New Jersey, of all places, this guy offered a class, New Age class, and he didn't just do tarot with us. He did tarot and pendulums and runes, and we did energy work, and he did past life regressions for us, and we each got a crystal that he said you have to like let the energy, like the crystal pick you. And it was a very life-changing experience. And that summer I ended up painting the star card followed by the moon card, and was it the other way around? Anyway, it was my first paintings, and I just fell in love because I was given RWS to work with. He had multiple RW, just like the generic yellow box from the 80s. And so each of us had a deck that we were working with and getting to know. And the RWS with all the pictures just really spoke to me in a way that the Marseille didn't. I feel like I have a better handle on Marseille now, but I still tend to read with like the RWS meanings to the cards.
Yeah, same.
So, yeah, I started a love affair with RWS. God, what was my next deck that I got? I think it was the Hanson Roberts was the next deck that I got for myself. And then mid 90s, I want to say, I ended up getting the Robin Wood Tarot. And that was my go-to for probably like 10, 15 years. It was like, I didn't even need any other decks. I gave away my RWS, which I'm kicking myself because now I'm wondering, is that a blushing fool?
Never know.
And I don't know. It started this love affair with the cards, and even though, yeah, I do have oracle cards, there was just something about the tarot that drew me in and spoke to me. So,
yeah. And
it was easy to give readings. Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah. Did you when you got the tarot, and like you say, you was also interested in Oracle, did you learn the system as well back then? Was you able to, apply the traditional meanings behind each of the cards and archetypes, or was you just kind of, using it intuitively? How did you start to work with the RWS?
So I had, at the same time that I got Robin Wood, I ended up getting, what's the name of the book? Tarot Plain and Simple, I want to say. And it uses the imagery from the Robin Wood Tarot. And it breaks it down into like the different meanings of different things in the card, as well as reversals. And I just had my book with me with my deck at all times. And that was just how I learned it, was by doing, right? Giving readings, constantly giving readings. Okay, let's look up what that card means. And then it was interesting too, because like I noticed that every time I did it, certain things were different. Like if the same card kept showing up, different words in the write-up would jump out at me. And so even though I was reading from the book, the readings were very different for each person. And they just, I don't know, everyone was always just like shocked that I was able to like see things in the cards. I'm like, I'm just reading what the cards are saying here. And I remember early college, I had the Robin Wood probably for like 3 or 4 years at that point. I was giving a reading, and I was like, the woman didn't, like, she just wanted a general reading. And so I'm like giving her a reading, her friend was there, and like I just start saying these things about the boyfriend, and there's issues with the boyfriend, and then she turned to her friend, she's like, "You didn't tell him, did you?" Like, no one told me anything. I'm just reading what right here in the cards. And so she was funny too, because she just was indulging me. She was this she was a scientist through and through, like didn't believe in anything and unless there was a scientific study for it, kind of thing. So, but I blew her mind with my reading.
That's good. So, and that's interesting, because it's kind of where I wanted to go next. So, and again, you use various divination tools, so we'll come on to that. But looking at the tarot and how you just explained there that you learned how to read the tarot, and there was a scientist there, how do you think the tarot works? Do you see the tarot as something that is a psychological tool that acts as a bit of a mirror that represents your life state? Do you see it as a divinatory tool that predicts events that are going to happen, or somewhere in between and a bit of both?
Probably somewhere in between, a bit of both. Just because like I don't purposely give readings to like read the future. I always say this is going to be a snapshot of what's happening right here and right now. And if there is a card talking about the future, just saying that this is the future that you'll get to if you stay on this path that the cards are describing. So I think of it more of a psychological like mirror of what is happening. But at the same time, I've had people come back to me and like, everything you predicted came true. I'm like, I did a prediction? What? Okay. I'm just reading the cards. Because one of my nieces, her husband wanted a reading, and I gave him a reading, and like everything was pretty negative. And I'm just like, have you lost your job? There's some like money struggles going on. He's like, no, I've got a great job. Nothing, no issues whatsoever. A year later, I talked to her, and she said that everything I had predicted had come true. He had lost his job. They had money issues. And so like, even when I'm not trying to read the future, sometimes it comes through.
Yeah. Right. And that's the bit where you, I don't know, for me, it's the bit where I always kind of think, I use describing the tarot as a psychological tool sometimes to people, because I think it's going to be more palatable for them.
Right.
And also, I think if I'm really honest, I kind of feel a little bit nervous myself in terms of saying, oh, I can predict things with these cards, because it doesn't sit comfortably with me. So when I always explain the tarot to people, I always talk about it being a mirror, and everything else. But the bit that always gets me is when I do readings like a year ahead spread. I mean, what is a year ahead spread if not, some sort of prediction that could happen depending on your, because we've all got free agency, we've all got free will. But, the number of times I've had people coming back to me saying, wow, I've watched your video clip many, many times as the year's gone on. And it's really, really accurate. And I'm like you. I sit there and I think, wow, well, all I was doing was interpreting the cards as they were coming out in the positions that they were in. Right. So I think I've got to be more comfortable, I think, in, accepting that part of the tarot. Just because I don't understand how that works doesn't mean I should shy away from, doing my best to try and explain it to other people rather than just going to the thing where I think it's more palatable by saying, yeah, it's a tool that helps us understand our life state and gives us some direction, and it does. I'm not, decrying that either, but it was interesting.
Well, but we lean on that, right?
Sorry?
We lean on that aspect of the cards, whereas the fortune telling prediction thing, we're both like, well, if we say it and it comes true, that's great, but I'm not trying to predict anything. So I think that's part of it, is not wanting that weight of prediction on our shoulders.
Yeah. There's a comment here from Kristen Louise who said, my last in-person reading said your 2020, there isn't going to be much going on for you. Cue pandemic and spiritual transformation. Yeah, that's interesting. So, and it's not just tarot with you, is it? Because I mean, I remember, if I'm right, you also brought like the Ogham staves, things like that. How do you incorporate with tarot readings, or do you use them separately? How do you use other forms?
I do sometimes incorporate them into a reading. Like I'll do the spread, and then I'll like grab a handful of Ogham or runes or just a oracle deck, really, just to add to the message. So it's layers is what I like to read in. So like I have the cards, I have that, and that has many layers, and then I'll throw the runes on top and see how they land, and if they like highlight certain cards and how that changes the reading.
Yeah. Cool. Brilliant. And if anybody in the chat, I'm going to flick the light on as well, because it's just started. I've got a red sunset happening here. It's just starting to get dark as your day's just starting to get light.
It's still dark outside here.
But if anybody's got questions that they also want me to ask Jonathan, then do pop them in caps and I'll do my best to spot them. I'm just going to flick the light and take a second.
So Aphasia Rising says that they want to start adding runes. They use oracles for clarifiers and sometimes pendulum. Yeah, I love my pendulums.
Yeah. So your channel started just over 8 months ago. Did you have a vision for your channel, and are you on track with that vision in terms of what you want to, put out in terms of content, etc.?
I actually did not start with a vision. I just was like, let's get this going. I don't know what I'm doing, but here we go. And it's evolved, definitely. I mean, it went from just unboxings to now I have lives. And I like actually having creators come on to talk about their deck with me and then do some readings. Like I had Jamie Elford on a few weeks ago to talk about the Heaven and Earth Tarot, which is interesting because she also had a hard time embracing that deck at first, but like she was hired to write the book. So it was just intriguing to hear it from her point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. And what sort of plan? Do you have any sort of plans going forward of what you want to do with your channel?
Well, I do want to do more of that where I have the deck creator come on and just talk about the deck and what they were thinking about when they made it, and then doing a few readings at the end for people who are in the chat. I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, really.
That's great, and most of us do. I know certainly when I started out, it was just doing tags. And then I was like, I need to do something more than just this. It evolves over time. I don't if there's any moderators in the chat as well, if you could put a link into Jonathan's channel, that would be great. And for anybody watching this back, the blurb down below will have a link to Jonathan's channel as well. Do check it out. So do you want to just quickly say, Jonathan, what you can expect if you subscribe to your channel, the type of things that you do?
I do unboxings for new decks that I get. I have my Tuesday morning readings, and occasionally those Tuesday mornings I have a guest come on, either Betsy, she's on my 4th Tuesday of the month, and occasionally I get other people to come on and do readings with me. I've had Tara of Kittens, Waits, and Tarot come on. I've had Amber of Lavender Moon come on. Who else have I had? I need to get you to come on.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, we just got to time it right.
Yeah, I think so. Justin and Sandra have put links into the channel, so thank you.
Thank you.
Do check Jonathan out. So, what does being a part of an online community mean to you, Jonathan? What do you get out of it?
Well, it's interesting because this is not my first online community I've been a part of. When I was 18 and there was still, BBSs, those like bulletin board systems you had to dial in. That was my only real connection with the gay community. So for a long time, because I was under 21, I couldn't go to the bars. There wasn't really anything for younger kids. But then I found the bulletin board system where I just call in and it's all chat, with an occasional meetup for people in the area. And so for me, I think online communities are very important because they give that thing that you might not necessarily have in your everyday life that you're craving, but they give it a digital version. So for me, it's you guys. I can talk about tarot, and if I say something, I'm not going to get blank looks. People are actually going to understand what I'm talking about, and I think that's important for me, especially in this day and age where socialization is kind of at a halt at the moment. This is where I get most of my socialization these days. So,
yeah. And Krista Louisa said, "Gotta love the dial-in noise."
Oh yeah.
I can always remember having the first dial-up internet connections, and
and then getting yelled at by mom because I'm expecting a call. You got to get offline.
Yeah. When I finally got offline, a couple of my mom would be like, "Who you been talking to? I've been trying to ring you for 4 hours." So it used to take up the phone line,
right?
Yeah. So, can I talk to you a little bit then about your spirituality? Do you define yourself by any particular spiritual practice? Do you label yourself as, a Christian, a Buddhist, a witch? And what does your spiritual practice look like?
I've claimed several labels as time has gone on and also dropped them to the side as well. I was raised Jewish. My mom is very much a Jew. My dad's an Episcopalian, but I never really got exposed to that side of things. My mom was also one of the original hippies, so the New Age movement was always a part of my life. So I always tell people I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. So for me, I think spirituality is far more important than religion. Religion falls into dogma, and then if you're not doing it the way that you're told to do it, then you're wrong. And that's never sat well with me, because I'm unique, and I want to be able to express my uniqueness in a way that will help others, and having to conform to a specific role that my religion or my culture decides is right for me has never sat well with me.
Yeah.
I think that's the part of me that would call myself a shaman.
So
yeah.
Do you class yourself as a shaman then?
Well, let's see. What labels have I accepted? I did accept witch for a long time. I accepted shaman. Hermit was a good one for me too. The spiritual master that's just off by himself and learning from nature. It's just, I don't know. It just seems idyllic to me. So, especially living here where nature's, very balmy. So yeah, I mean, I joke around with some people sometimes. I'm like, yeah, I'm a Jewish, Buddhist, pagan, Taoist, witch.
Whatever fits.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like to take what works for me from all spiritual paths, all religions, and leave the rest.
Yeah. And do you have any spiritual practices that you like to take part in? Any sort of rituals or any sort of daily observances or anything like that?
Meditation for sure. I used to be very, very strict about following the witch's calendar of the year and celebrating the Sabbats and all that. I've gotten more lax on that. The main thing for me is meditation, my divination, and just having time to dive deep into the spiritual realm. So, I can see my cat's ears right there.
Before we went live, we could see your cat tail. What's your cat name?
Kiana, which is the Hawaiian version of Diana, the moon goddess, the huntress.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, you said might make an appearance. But White says, Hermes Cave, did you see Tanji's question? I didn't see Tanji's question, but I know what Tanji's question is because Tanji asks this question every time I interview. And Tanji always likes to know, if you could be any mythical creature, what would you be and why?
That answer has changed over the years. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a unicorn because they're full of magic. And then for a long time, I wanted to be a dragon. I think I still do want to be a dragon. I mean, even my acupuncture business, when I started, it was Dragon's Dream Acupuncture. So I'd say dragon because they have a lot of wisdom. No one messes with them. And they have lots of shinies.
Yeah. And they're so wise.
Right.
To the one in Merlin. And our Chris asked if you had a soul deck. Firstly, I suppose, do you believe in the concept of soul decks?
I think that certain people can find a deck that they would call a soul deck. I feel like we all have so many facets to ourselves that a soul deck doesn't necessarily have to be just one deck. But currently, the one that's just screaming out to me as a soul deck is the Super Lunaris, because it is so RWS, but it's so inclusive. And like, I never thought I'd ever love a photo collage deck, but they don't look like photos. They look like paintings.
Yeah.
So I think this is probably the closest I've ever gotten to a soul deck.
Wow. Yeah.
But I mean, I have so many decks that I just love and like I can't stop using. So
Yeah, it's really hard to narrow it down to one, isn't it? I always feel, but
well, it depends on the questions you're asking too. I feel like certain decks are better answering certain questions.
Yeah. You see, I guess for me, I've got my one soul deck, which is my do or die, the one that's my workhorse that I can't be without. And then I've got like I don't know, like my wise counsel around me, where I've got the decks, like you just mentioned, that are great for this or great for that, and I have to be able to grab them rather than root through shelves to find them. So, and I guess that's kind of what we call like our top tens, but they do change, whereas my soul deck doesn't, it stays, it's the constant, it's the one, always be there. And then Jackie asked, does Jonathan have mediumship in his practice? And you kind of touched on spirit realms a few minutes ago, and I was going to come back to that anyway. So now's a good time with Jackie asking.
I do have some mediumship in my practice. It's not the extent, say, that Betsy does mediumship, but she and I have gotten together for our play dates, and there's definitely been like a crowd around us, so to speak. I sense the energies, I sense the spirits, and I've had times in a reading where somebody else comes out of my mouth. And like a friend of mine asked for a reading, I was giving him a reading, and then like I said something that was just like, what was it? Something about him like never having kids, so why bother having an inheritance or something like that. And I was just like, I'm so sorry, I don't know where that came from. He's like, oh, that was my mother speaking through you.
Wow.
That was exactly her voice and the way she would say it. I was like, oh, okay, well, it wasn't me, I swear.
Wow. And when that happens, what do you sense when that?
It's kind of almost like taking a back seat in a way. It's like I can see what's happening and I can hear myself speaking, but I know it's not me. And then after the fact, I'm always just like, okay, who was that? Who was that? Wow. And usually the person who I'm reading for is like, oh yeah, that was so-and-so. On one of my live readings, actually, with, I don't think Jamie Kelly is here, but I had the same thing happen. This phrase popped out, and it's a phrase I never would say. And she immediately typed in, that was my mother speaking. So it is in there. It's not something I look for, but I also don't shy away from it either, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes sense. Tammy Pie says, have you ever met any traditional Hawaiian ghosts like the Night Walker or Pele?
So I do have a story of meeting Pele. Probably like 9 years ago, my aunt had come to visit, and we did the full loop of Hana. And on the back side, where a lot of people don't go, you can actually see the Big Island on a clear day. And we had come to this spot where there was a waterfall, and a bunch of people had their trucks and cars open in the back, and they were like selling things out of the back of their cars. Well, across the road, there was no parking lot. It was just like this area where this very traditional Hawaiian woman had laid out a very traditional Hawaiian cloth. She had all these shell lays. She had a very traditional Hawaiian umbrella. She was wearing, not a muumuu, but it's that traditional like Hawaiian dress covered in, it was black with red flowers. And I sat there and had this long conversation with her about how I had never felt more at home than I did here on Maui. And I don't know, like we were talking for a long time about different aspects of spirituality and being here on Maui and feeling at home. And she said that the reason I felt so at home is because I'm a Hawaiian spirit that was sent to wander the lands, and I finally made my way home through several incarnations later. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's mind-blowing. And then my aunt bought a shell lay from her. We got in the car and started driving away, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and she wasn't there.
Oh, wow.
Like there was no time for her to gather all her stuff. But like I looked in the river mirror back at the spot where she had been sitting, nothing, nobody. And it wasn't until after the fact that I realized that must have been Pele, because she was more Hawaiian than any Hawaiian I've ever seen. And it was like, it was just a magical moment with her, and just having that validation of like, yes, you belong here. You might not be, this body might not be of Hawaiian descent, but your spirit obviously found its way home.
Yeah.
And so that just was, I still get chicken skin thinking about that moment.
Yeah. And you still have, did you say it was a shell that you bought?
No, my aunt got it's a shell lay, so kind of like
a lay made from shell. Yeah. Wow.
She took it with her. I want that shell lay if she ever decides she wants to get rid of it, but she's moved so many times, I don't know if she even knows where it is anymore.
Oh, let's hope so. I mean, that's incredible to have something physical, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Sage Advice Tarot says, how old is your son? Does he share similar spiritual gifts, or is he interested in spirituality?
He is 7. He just turned 7 in December. And he's very interested in the tarot because he sees me and he sees you guys, because a lot of times when I'm watching, he's like, are you watching Simon again? And I actually bought him a deck for Christmas, but I don't know, I think he's a little card shy. He hasn't, like, I wanted him to like go live with me and do an unboxing of his new deck, and he's like, maybe tomorrow. And so we haven't even really sat down and gone through the deck yet, but he is interested in tarot. He is more of a skeptic than I am, which is crazy because I'm 45 and he's 7. But he's I don't know, I think he's kind of interested. He likes all my crystals. He likes my crystal skulls. And thanks, Neem. I don't know if you guys can read the full thing.
Bob Ross.
Yeah. Everyone makes mistakes in life. Let's make them birds. Yeah, they're birds now. Chris asked, what deck did I get him? I got him the Young Witch Tarot.
The Young Witch Tarot. I don't think I've seen that.
That's Natalie Mirakai, the same one who created Tarot Mood.
Okay, no, I don't think I've seen that deck.
That one's Tarot Mode is like RWS, but turned into memes. It's very cheeky.
Yeah. Kimberly says, do you mix different decks and oracles? If so, which are your favorite combinations?
I really like using tarot and oracles made by the same creator. So, do I even have any here? No. So like the Crow Tarot, MJ just made her Oracle, the Urban Crow. Yeah, the Urban Crow Oracle. And those two pair really well. I did several readings. Was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago I did readings where I'd pull 3 tarot cards and 2 oracle cards. And since it was all Crow related and the same artist, it just really worked well together. Mm-hmm. As far as separate creators, I don't know, my Roots and Wings goes with pretty much everything. And then, of course, there's Everyday Witch with Everyday Witch Oracle. I like to pair like that, where it's like it's a pair that already exists.
For that purpose, yeah.
Right. If I do mix, it's usually theme-based. So if I have a Mermaid Tarot, then I'll grab the Mermaid Oracle, that kind of connection, so that the theme is at least connected, even if it's not the same artist or creator.
I think that's why I'm so excited about Ornatorian's Tarot of Echoes, because Oracle of Echoes is just mind-blowing. I love it. It's in my top 3 Oracle decks. And when I heard that she was bringing out Tarot of Echoes, I'm just like, oh, because Ornatorian's, she's the artist who was involved with Bone, Stone and Earthflesh.
Right.
And she's just phenomenal. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I've been following the creation.
Have you? Yeah. Yeah.
I still need to get Oracle of Echoes, but
it's amazing. I even bought it for a friend of mine who wasn't that much into tarot and oracle, and he absolutely loved it too.
Well, that's good.
So we'll just go back to talking about tarot for a little while more, if you don't mind. So you talked about your starting with tarot and your early decks, like the RWS. You said Robin Wood, and what was the third one? I know it was a real classic. Was it the Hanson Robert?
Hanson Roberts is what I used from about 89 to about probably like 9. When did I get Robin Wood? I think I got it in like 94 or 95. So up until then, it was Hanson Roberts for the most part.
And they're really good decks, really firm foundation decks to start out with and learn tarot with. How would you say your taste, or well, yeah, let's go with taste. How would you say your taste in tarot has changed, or has it still been around more of the traditional types, or what's your genre like?
I do like traditional, but at the same time, I'm realizing how I actually prefer stuff nowadays, like the Superlunaris, that's more inclusive and diverse. I think that's one of the reasons why I stopped using some of my older decks, is because they're so whitewashed. It's like, it was always hard for me to read for any person of color, because it was like, well, all the cards are white people, and I want you to be like, feel like you're reflected here, and that's obviously not going to happen. Chris. I mean, I will never get rid of my Robin Wood. It's like, I destroyed the box. I used it so much. But at the same time, I have switched over more towards the inclusive stuff. Superlunaris has been my go-to for a long time. But I mean, even the Marchetti Tarot has more inclusivity.
Yeah.
And my most recent deck, the Modern Love, that one is like super inclusive. This is probably the best inclusivity I've seen in any deck.
It looks great. So what about systems though? So the ones you've talked about there are WS, and you said earlier that you're more comfortable with Marseille. Would you say that your preferred system is RWS?
Yeah, I'm an RWS boy for sure. Just because, it's what I learned. It was the main system I used for 30 something years. So I have gotten comfortable with the Marseille, and I'm starting to dabble a little. I know, cover your ears, Simon. Dabbling in Thoth. I don't know. I started liking not Thoth itself, but the Thoth knockoffs, like the Urban Tarot and the Rosetta, which is interesting because it's, so Egyptian based. And I actually did take a class in uni, like the history of Egypt. So, I learned enough that I could get by with the Rosetta.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that because that's a nice comment as well from
thank you.
Age Advice. Yeah, and I'm totally with you. I mean, I know I'm kind of well known for dissing on the top, but your tarot I adore, Urban Tarot I adore. I don't necessarily think it's the system. I think it's the original traditional Thoth, Lady Frida Harris's artwork, and it's just there's just something about it. But
so many layers to it. That's what I love.
Yeah, but I have to be careful what I say because, each to their own, and people come to the tarot for all different reasons. Some are drawn to it because of astrology. Some are drawn to it because of Kabbalah and stuff like that. For me, I just think sometimes a deck can be too esoteric in terms of so many things laid onto it that it becomes almost this beast that is really complicated. And I'm just, I don't know, I'm just more of a layperson when it comes to laying down the cards and just wanting to see what I see, and that works. If there's too much on there that requires so much study,
right,
it kind of makes me feel a little bit daunted, and I end up going into my the sort of the procrastinator in me that never actually gets around to doing it.
right. I get that too. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I haven't dived as deep into Thoth as I'd like, because of like, okay, I got to know all these layers and what each layer means and how they interact with each other. And is this layer actually part of the reading, or is it something else? Or yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, and no, I suppose lots of people feel like that, but then there's lots of people who I respect and admire who absolutely love the Thoth system. So I don't knock anybody who likes it and works with it. It's just, and I kind of do it tongue in cheek. When I'm in chats and people will say, "Oh, Simon, we're going to talk about the Thoth," I kind of play. But actually, I just think, and I've got the Thoth deck, the original and other decks, and great. But I kind of play up to the sort of, I hate the Thoth. But then,
well, it's just not something I reach for. It's like if I have time to sit and really ponder, sure, I'll grab one of my Thoth decks. But it's just like I need to have the time to really like peel back the layers, and you don't always. I mean, with my Tuesday live readings, it's like I just throw down 3 cards and whatever comes to me, it's what's coming out of my mouth, because you just got to keep going. Yeah. And with Thoth, I think you'd have to really just like, okay, let's put aside an hour for our reading, and then now let's dive deep. And we don't have time for that, a live reading. So
yeah. And I get what Kristen's saying here as well about the dark vibe from Crowley, and I get that too, and I've felt that. But then Arthur Edward Waite wasn't a saint either by a long shot, but I still adore the RWS. But that's because I'm a Pixie fan. Okay.
Well, and I heard that the Frida made him like not do any drugs, not drink every time that they were working on something. She was more in charge than he was, as far as I know. Like from what I heard, anyway. Oh my God, there's the tail again. See,
I'm not gonna hear the little cries.
Why are you complaining? I already gave you breakfast, little miss.
So, do you have any particular, when you're choosing a deck, do you have any sort of criteria, be that you want it to be representative, or it has to have a certain card stock, or there's certain cards that have to be depicted in a certain way? Do you have criteria?
Card stock is important to me, just because, I'm a riffle shuffler, and I want my decks to last if I'm doing that constantly. As far as the aesthetics, I do like inclusivity and artwork that really speaks to me. If it's artwork that's inclusive, but I just don't connect with it, I probably won't get it. Yeah, that's true. Turns out people are people. And that's something I've learned being an acupuncturist and treating so many people. Everyone's just who they are, and you got to work with what they got. So, I think aesthetic wise, I like a nice cardstock. I like pretty artwork, vibrant artwork. Although I have started getting some more black and white decks recently.
Oh, have you?
Darkness of Light I got the 4th edition because one of my favorite cardstocks of all time is the linen cardstock. So they just shuffle so nicely.
Do you have New Era elements, Tarot?
I do not.
Oh, I like that. That's it's kind of sepia rather than black and white, and I know there are some problematic cards, some triggering images in there, but It's a powerful deck, and it was one of my that and the Bianco Nero are probably two of my favorite black and white decks that you can get. Both lovely.
I pledged for the what was it, Black Ritual Tarot on Kickstarter. It's RWS in black and white.
Yeah, I think we just covered that on Tarot Times last. So it looks. I didn't back it because I'm trying to give Kickstarter a wide berth at the moment. But if I want to back any Kickstarter decks, it certainly would be that one.
Yeah, I backed it because it wasn't that expensive. I think it was like $30 total, including shipping.
Oh wow! Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
My most recent Kickstarter that I backed, I blame Sandra for.
Oh, what was that?
The Lovely Ohm Tarot.
Oh, okay.
She posted on the on your group, and I was just like, I clicked. I didn't even think about it. I just clicked. I'm like, wait, what am I doing?
So, what's top of your wish list? One deck that's out of reach.
Out of reach. Ooh, I have a couple because, well, the most recent one was the Bone Stone. I regret not buying that because I went to go buy it. I sold $125 because shipping was as much as the deck, and I was just like, oh, I don't know. And then I went, I should just do it, and I went back, and it was gone. It just vanished so quickly. The other one that I know I can get now through Make Playing Cards is the Mauis Tarot. Mauis Tarot.
Yeah. Wow.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Cool.
So I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that I've been dying for. Well, everyone wants the Pele, but
We can but dream.
Or watch unboxings of the Pele and be like, oh, if only.
I've watched Lisa from Mindful Tarot's unboxing of the Pele like 50 times. I'm over the moon for her, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my goodness. Because I heard from somebody who was, and I won't say how much because it's her business, but I heard from somebody who was also watching that and knows what it sold for, and it sold for quite, in my opinion, a reasonable price. And I was like, why didn't I see it?
Oh no. Yeah, there's a few decks I have permanent searches for. I still need to get a Blushing Fool.
Yeah. And for me, until I get a Pele, the Blushing Fool is it, because of how amazing it just feels and how beautiful it is to look at. So yeah, and you'll get one one day. I got mine £39, but back then nobody had even heard of Blushing Fool.
Right.
I went in my mouth on YouTube a couple of years ago, and that was it.
Actually, I appreciate the fact that my husband got me for Christmas the limited gold edition of the Pamela Smith Tarot.
Oh yeah, in the green box.
The green box with the gold edges and the green and gold backs.
It's beautiful. I was just so disappointed that it was glossy.
Yeah.
Anything. I was like, oh no, why couldn't it have been matte?
Why did they do it glossy?
No, I think it was because the backs kind of needed to be glossy, and it probably would have felt a bit.
That makes sense.
But particularly as the one that was released 20 years ago, which also had gilding on, that had just a nice silky, feel to it. It wasn't papery matte, and I was expecting it to be like that again, but sadly not.
No, they needed that gloss because of the backs. Yeah, that makes sense. Keeping the gilding on.
What did your tarot collection look like now, Jonathan, in terms of size, genre? How would you describe it?
I've got probably about 120 tarot decks and about 70 Oracle / Lenormand. I only have 3 Lenormand decks, but I'd say it's very artsy, my tarot decks. I got like the Marchetti, Slow Tarot. I did a lot of Kickstarters the last couple of years, so that's where a lot of my decks have come from. I mean, I have gotten some of the mass market ones. Like I got the Tarot Grand Lux, which, as much as I love the artwork, I can tell it's mass market because the artwork is slightly pixelated in spots.
Yeah.
Which kind of bugs me as an artist. So, I mean, I still use the deck, obviously. Yeah, I think for me, it's artwork is the biggest thing. Because even if it's just a pip deck, like Tarot of Light and Shadow, that's just pips. But the artwork draws me in, so I love the simplicity of it and the way that like you can do that mirror reading with the dark and the light decks. So
yeah. And what about books? Are you much of a book reader? Do you recommend any good tarot books for anybody who's kind of starting out, or indeed anybody who wants to dive deeper?
For people who want to dive deeper, I can't recommend 78 Degrees of Wisdom enough, as well as the Holistic Tarot by Benuel Ben. As far as books, yeah, I mean, I like actually reading the books that come with the decks. That's why I like kits a lot, because it dives deep into the artwork, why they chose certain art like motifs, or why they chose someone facing left versus right or whatever. And then if an artist has a separate book for a deck, I'll try and find that as well. So like with the Robin Wood Tarot, I went out and found Robin Wood's book describing it. I mean, yeah, I used the Tarot plain and simple mainly, but if I wanted to dive deeper, I grabbed Robin Wood's deck. So for me, I have so many books though. I'm a book collector.
Are you?
Yeah. I think every room in this house has a bookshelf of mine.
That's good. All right. So we're coming up to an hour and a quarter already. So I'm going to just ask what I call now kind of like the deep dive questions. And the first one is, if you could go back to your 16-year-old self, knowing everything that you know now, what sort of conversation would you have?
16-year-old self had a lot of self-doubt. So I think that's one of the main conversations I'd have to have with my 16-year-old self is it doesn't matter what other people think. You don't have to okay what you want through other people. Just be yourself, and those that love you will still be there. So that's the main thing, really, because I did a lot of things back then that like I did only because I was trying to get people to like me. And it's like, that's not the way to do it. Just be yourself, and the people that are meant to be there will show up.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think most 16-year-olds really want to find their place, don't they? You know, it is that age, I think, where you suddenly realize that you're not a child anymore. And over here, 16 is the school leaving age. So that's the point where you're going from, you know, your childhood to your adulthood, and you really want your own identity, and you really want at the same time to have a sense that you belong to something. So you do so many different things to try and fit in, to try and get that acceptance. So yeah, good advice. Okay, so you're having a dinner party. You can have 3 guests, 1 ultimate guest who will be your guest of honor, and 2 others, dead or alive. Who would they be?
Ooh, okay. Wow. Well, Pixie, of course, would have to be one of the 3, if not the main one. I'd probably want to have also Michelangelo, just because, you know, he was so brilliant. I'd love to just dive into that mind for a while. And who would be my 3rd? I want to say Frida, just because she was just such a free spirit and just did so much for the art world. And I mean, a lot of it took place after her death, but the fact that she had such a huge impact just by being herself is like, I would just love to sit down with those three and just have in-depth conversations about everything. So
just shows where my mind's at. When you said freedom, my mind went to ABBA for some reason. And I was like, oh, what a great dinner guest.
Oh, ABBA can be our backup.
Entertainment for the evening, yeah. Oh dear. And the final question is, what has tarot taught you the most about yourself?
Tarot probably has taught me that sometimes what I see with my eyes is not necessarily what's really going on, and to dive a little deeper under the surface. So really that's what Tarot has taught me, is to dive deeper in everything, not just like with a reading, but like if I'm in a conversation with someone, dive a little deeper, talk about more meaningful stuff, not the weather or the sports team or whatever. So for me, it just is really reiteration of like, life is so much deeper than the surface level that we always live on. So if I can dive deeper with somebody, even if it's over a reading, it's amazing. I had one person I was reading for, she it brought her to tears because what I was reading was exactly what she was going through. And at the end, she's like, well, this is amazing because either I could have 10 counseling sessions or one session with you, and it's the same. And that just was just like, oh my God, wow. I guess I can help other people.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I like that. And it is because the tarot talks or teaches us just to go below the surface, doesn't it? And to go deeper within. If she said, I thought you was asking deep questions, and she's like, where's the toilet paper question? That is coming up. Plastic is about to happen. So, Jonathan, you know how paper plastic works?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So the first response that comes to mind, and I will start with paper or plastic.
Paper.
Oracle or tarot.
Tarot.
YouTube or Instagram.
YouTube.
Peanut butter or jelly.
Oh, that's a hard one, but I have to go with peanut butter.
Big parties or small gatherings.
Probably like 10, 15 years ago, I would have said big parties, but today, small, intimate gatherings.
It happens. Wait or Crowley.
Wait.
Bath or shower.
Shower.
Bordered or borderless.
Probably borderless, although I do appreciate a good border.
Yeah, it depends on the deck, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Dark and creepy or rainbows and unicorns.
Ooh, that one's hard because I've loved both for a long time. Dark and creepy rainbows and unicorns.
A mishmash of the two. Indie or mass market? I think I know the answer to that one.
Indie.
Tablet or PC?
PC, I guess. Well, I mean, it's not a PC, it's a MacBook, but yeah, I use my laptop.
Yeah. Save or spend?
Spend.
Money or free time?
Ooh, free time, I think.
Yeah. Thing is, you got to have the money to really enjoy free time sometimes.
Right. You got to have both, really.
Phone calls or FaceTime?
I like FaceTime because I like seeing the expressions. I like hearing the tones in the voice.
Yeah. Movies at home or in the cinema?
Ooh, I used to say cinema. Nowadays, with a kid, I'd say at home so we can pause if someone needs to have a potty break or anything.
Yeah, or rewind when you miss the gist.
Right. When he's talking at you.
Like cinema, remember those days? Large cards or small cards?
Ooh. Large, I guess. Although I do like my pocket-sized decks too.
Life after death or total extinction?
Life after death. Just
Early,
because I have too many memories.
yes. Early bird or night owl?
I used to be a night owl. Now that I have a kid, I'm an early bird and a night owl at the same time, and that's not good.
Wow. I've never sustained that for so long. But I was like, surely he's going to answer early bird when he's here. He was talking to me at 6:55 this morning.
Yeah.
No, 5:55.
5:55 is when we started chatting. Yeah.
Wow. Woodland forest or sandy beaches?
Yes.
Yeah, preferably a woodland forest on the edge
on
of
a sandy beach. Right.
Okay, and toilet roll hanging over or under?
Over.
Over. Jonathan.
My mom always does it under.
Really?
Yeah. And she's like, how did you start doing the over thing? It's under. I'm like, because I like over better.
Yeah, no, I like your mum. I'm shuffling this and I've got my card of the day that I'll have to put in. So while I'm shuffling a card to pull, is there a particular deck that you'd like to share some of the cards with us that you're really kind of being drawn to work with at the moment? That's one of your current faves?
Yeah, this deck I only got like 2 weeks ago, maybe. It was a belated Christmas present from one of our community members, and it is the Modern Love Tarot by Ethne. And one of the things that is just amazing about this deck, wait, if I can get this out of here, there we go, is the book. And look at this chunky little book that comes with the deck. It's huge.
I've only seen a few images from this. Jen pulled the Hermit for Tarot Playdate, and then I've seen a couple of others, and the artwork does look incredible. Who's the artist?
Lucy Morningstar.
Lucy Morningstar.
Mm-hmm. This is the backs, very blingy and pink. Then gilded sides. These have been shuffled, so there's no order here. Here's Justice, which is interesting because it looks like a marriage counselor, and they have a statue of Justice on the shelf behind him. It's just so interesting that Justice would be a marriage counselor. Six of Swords. This is in no particular order. Like I said, it's shuffled. The artwork is just gorgeous.
Yes.
And every card has a heart hidden in there somewhere. I love this Queen of Swords. It's one of the darkest cards in the deck. Six of Wands. Paralympic.
Brilliant. Good to see different abilities represented.
Here we have the Two of Wands, which almost gives me a Two of Cups vibe in a way.
Yeah, I get that.
But this is the Modern Love Tarot after all. Five of Cups is very sad. She's at the funeral for her lover, her husband.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's interesting because four of the cups are spilled and there's only one left, which is a slight change to what we're used to, right? Love this Queen of Pentacles, herbalist in her herb shop.
Yeah, beautiful.
Six of Pentacles. The artwork is just, it's gorgeous. And it's borderless. One of the cutest Page of Wands. of all time.
That little Wonder Woman.
It's like she's putting on a play for everybody.
Yeah.
That's her dragon and unicorn. Eight of Cups, modern day, moving, because she's, packing up the moving truck.
Beautiful.
The Magician.
Wow.
Gorgeous Ace of Wands here. The colors are just phenomenal. This is a very interesting Eight of Pentacles, because it's like, it almost talks about how even being in a relationship takes time to master the skills of being in a relationship.
Mm. The picture on the wall is interesting as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's almost the interconnectedness between people.
Yeah.
Seven of Swords is like someone's sneaking out for extramarital affair or something. And she's about to step on the sword, which is just a very interesting image.
Wow. Yeah, I love it.
Ace of Swords here. It's an arch of books.
Wow.
And we'll end with the cover, which is The Lovers.
Yeah. It's really vibrant. There's a beautiful, the cards look like they're a nice size, kind of look like the size of the Witch's Wisdom.
About that, yeah.
Nice, vibrant colors. I love the artwork.
I wish I had something to measure up against, but I don't.
Jen says that was her sneaking out to the clubs back in the day. Yeah, I got that with the shoes in hand and creeping out at night after being told, stay in your room.
I think we all did that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I have to show the High Priestess.
Oh, wow. Let me just make that big so you can see it. Wow.
So I love that instead of pillars, we have a dark and light bookshelf.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, the facial expression, the way the faces are done, like in that card, like the Anna Kay. Similar, similar art to Anna Kay.
I can see that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for showing that, because I've not watched a full walkthrough of that deck yet, other than the odd few cards that I've seen, but it really is beautiful.
I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I do, because I was like, oh, modern love is going to be a love deck, la la la. But then it's like, it's a deep reader. Like, I've done some readings with it, and it's just like, it goes deep.
Yeah, really does. Okay, so our card, I've been shuffling like mad through that. Our card for the week ahead is, we have the Hanged Man.
Oh.
So maybe, I guess, this week, we perhaps might need to take a step back to be able to take that step forward, particularly if we've been thinking about the direction to go in. Maybe it's time to reflect more this week, to press the pause button and to ponder. Sometimes we have to do the opposite of what our head is telling us to do, because we tend to learn things that we should do and that make sense for us to do, but sometimes we get that little voice inside us, or that gut feeling that makes us actually think, oh, hold on a minute, I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna reflect more and look at other opportunities to explore, rather than just going on what we've learned should be the way forward. Maybe it's time as well to make some sacrifices to be able to really go in the direction we want to go. We may need to do things a little bit differently, and that sometimes means that we might need to let go of some things as well, which is not always easy to do at first and might not sit comfortably with us. But actually, if we're about to go on a trip or a new adventure, then letting go of something and making those sacrifices could really lighten the load for us. So be brave, be fearless. You might find yourself going into something that is quite unfamiliar for you this week, but just know that you've taken the time to think it through, and that you've actually not rushed in like you may have done in the past. So it's good to be challenged. It's good to come out of our comfort zone, and it's good to take on new experiences because they help us to grow and to develop. But take some time this week, press that pause button, take a step back, and then think about where it is you want to go next with what is being presented to you. All right.
Pulled the Hangman from Modern Love just to show you.
Let's pop it big. I always turn my head around so I can have a good look at the facial expression as well. Is that a tag or something around his wrist?
No, it's his phone.
Oh, it's his phone.
He's texting, and he's laying upside down on a bed. So
I get it.
Yeah,
that's an interesting take. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The expression is definitely
contemplative.
Looking at the phone.
Yeah, but it's kind of it starts that sense of pausing. It's kind of put the phone to one side and is actually thinking things through.
Mm-hmm.
In that relaxed state of rest, and stepping back.
Right.
About stepping back before you make your next step forward. So I like it.
It's a cool take. Yeah. All the this deck. I have to show you the 7 of Wands.
Have you done a walkthrough of this deck yet?
Yes.
You have. I'll check it out now that I've seen a few cards and I think we'll get it. I'll check it out. So, Jonathan, thank you for being here today. This hour and a half has flown by. I appreciate you getting up so early to accommodate and be here. You're a pleasure to watch. Like I said, you are well known now within our community. Long may you continue with your channel and everything.
Thank you.
And just thank you for being here. Is there anything you want to say to people before we end the broadcast?
I just want to thank you, Simon, for doing what you do, and just thanking the community for being here. I mean, none of us could do this without you guys, the community. So thank you so much, and thank you for having me, Simon.
You're welcome. And yeah, absolutely. And do check out Jonathan's channel. It's called Jonathan Daley. There will be a link below afterwards, and a few were shared in the chat earlier as well. Yeah, and I'll be back on Monday for Quarren Stream. So I will see you all then. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. And until next time, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.
Aloha.